Hi, this is Anita from Reluctant Low Carb Life. As part of Reluctant Low Carb Life, a lot of what we talk about is we talk about our trifecta of health. Our trifecta of health is basically about eating foods that are fresh so that you don't eat ultra-processed foods. And studies have been showing that ultra-processed foods are not good for you and can lead actually to weight gain. Another one is about satiety, eating foods that help you feel full longer. And finally, about fitness. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the second one in all of this, about the fullness aspect, or what's known as satiety. And we're going to talk about why is this important, what's the science behind it. So first of all, what is satiety? Satiety is the physiological and psychological response that signals you to stop eating and delays the return of hunger. Several factors, including the composition of your meals, the nutrient density of the food, and hormonal responses influence satiety. So there are, different things as to the reasons why it does, but it's essentially you can see it as food that will help you feel full longer. I always like to equate this. If you've ever eaten I have sometimes where you go through, let's say a McDonald's and you eat their hamburger and their French fries and, you're just starving when you go through and you eat it and okay, you feel good. And then about an hour or two later, you're like, I'm really hungry again. That did not fill me up. That is what it means to have a lack of satiety. Satiety really is about eating foods that help you feel full for a longer period of time so that you won't, you can see how this would help you not be tempted to overeat. So some of the foods which do well on what you call the satiety scale. The satiety scale is kind of similar to a calorie scale where we look at foods and we say how many calories does the food have. Well, satiety is very similar that we look at the food and we say how does this food help me feel full longer? It can be one food that's high in protein, that if the higher the protein the food has, the more you're going to be able to feel full longer. Protein would be things such as, Greek yogurt, eggs, things such as meat, especially fish and other types of meat. Foods that's high in fiber. Fiber slows down digestion. It stabilizes your blood sugar level, and it helps keep you full longer. Good sources of fiber include things like vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds, and beans can all help you feel full longer. Foods that with high water content and volume to meals, making them more, filling with extra calories. Water-rich foods include things like soups, salads, cucumbers, tomatoes, and melons, all things that have water in them. They can be low in energy density. Energy dense foods can be, they can be high in calorie per gram or easier to overeat, while low energy or low density foods provide bulk and satiety without excessive calories. They can include things such as proteins, whole grains, fruits, and vegetables. Some of the foods which do well on the satiety score would be things like eggs, and the satiety score in eggs is 60. So, this is a score which is 1 to 100, 100 being very high, 60 being a little bit over the middle, which is a pretty good score. Oatmeal has 60. But then if you look at beans, they would have, on average, have a score of 57, with some higher than others. Greek yogurt, though, so you compare that, let's talk about Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt has a score of 89. So that means that Greek yogurt, when you eat just plain Greek yogurt, I'm not talking about flavored Greek yogurt or sugary Greek yogurt, just very plain Greek yogurt, that you would have a satiety score of 89. Lean meats and fish would you have a satiety score between 74 and 84, depending upon which type of meat it is. Fruits and vegetables can be anywhere from 49 to 100. With things like spinach being extremely high. That's why, a lot of times some of the good weight loss recipes have spinach because spinach has a very high satiety score. So you can use, satiety to your advantage when you're looking to be able to lose weight. And you can use the science of satiety for this. One way you can do this is to make protein a priority. Protein is a great source to be able to help you control your hunger and to maintain your muscle mass. Whether it's animal protein or other types of protein, protein is a great way. So make protein a priority. Increase your fiber intake. Choose whole grains, vegetables, and types of beans over refined carbs to keep you feeling full longer. Eat more whole, unprocessed foods. Processed foods are engineered to be something that makes you want to eat more and more and more of them, but they are also very low in fiber. So they're not processed for high satiety. They're processed basically to make you want to eat more. That's why you can sit down if you have a large bag of potato chips, and before you know it, you've eaten the whole bag. That's because those foods are engineered and processed that way to be able to make you want to crave and be able to eat that whole bag before you actually feel full. And how many calories have you eaten then? Choose high volume, low calorie foods, soups, salads, water-rich foods to add bulk to the meals without excessive calories. Avoid liquid calories, drinks like sodas, especially sugary sodas have a lot of calories in them. They don't give you any satiety. Fruit juices provide little satiety compared to the solid food. Be mindful of meal timing. Eating at regular intervals can prevent extreme hunger, which may lead to overeating. And stay hydrated. Drink water. Water can help you curb, your need for unnecessary snacking. One of the apps that we really love if you are, looking at satiety and satiety as a way to be able to look at your weight loss is the Hava app. Now, there's a free version of the app, and there's also a paid version. I have the paid version, but I really like the app because I find it so easy. You can take a photo of the food you're eating. It pretty much, tells you what it is. You can correct if you need to correct anything, but, pretty much I would say 80 or 90% is correct. It tells you the calories and tells you your satiety score. So obviously, if you're eating a lot of sugar and sweets, the satiety score on those would be very low. If you're eating things, like meats or green leafy vegetables, the satiety score would be very high. So the idea is you want to be able to have a score, which would be probably somewhere in the middle, which will, which if you look on their app, they've got some like these yellow, green, green zones. You want to sort of stay within the green zone that day if you can. And that means that you've been eating foods that help you, stay full longer, of higher satiety. The key to, eating this way is that by looking at foods that have higher satiety can help you to be able to curb your hunger and support your goals without this constant battle of cravings or hunger. That you can look at the science of satiety to help you to be able to maybe better plan your meals or substitute some things in maybe some of the food you like to make them so they have higher satiety. That it can help you to be able to, track yourself towards a long-term weight loss success, which I think is one of the keys in all of this. Like how can you on the long term have more of a long-term weight loss success by looking at the satiety in your foods. At Reluctant Low Carb Life, we are great advocates for satiety and for things such as eating fresh foods and foods that help you feel full longer. We really believe in this, which we call the trifecta of health, to be able to help you to do these three things. And satiety is one of those, in eating foods that help you feel full longer or give you higher satiety. If you'd like to be able to check out more about this, you can read our blog on this, which is called The Science of Satiety, How to Stay Satisfied on a Weight Loss Diet. We hope that you will enjoy this blog, and we hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. If you have, please press the subscribe button. We'd love to have you join with us and be part of our community. And thank you so much for being part of our community and joining with us on this journey of becoming healthier.